Hey, this is Suede. Today we're playing Atrocity by Solare Games. Promises to be an intriguing mystery, so we're just gonna jump right on in. Chapter 1. It's springtime, around 4 p.m., at a seashore not far from a town called Aksaypolis. Two friends, Peter and Robert, walk across a modern cemetery on their way to an ancient necropolis. Whoa. What's happening? Oh, crap. Huh. That was weird. Let's try that again. Chapter 1. It's springtime, around 4 p.m., at a seashore not far from a town called Aksaypolis. Two friends, Peter and Robert, walk across a modern cemetery on their way to an ancient necropolis. Oh. What's happening? Why? No, quit. That's a weird little bug, maybe? Like, it just, I guess you have to double-click everything. It's kind of weird. Alright. It's very close to where... Let me just... Okay, take 3. Chapter 1. It's springtime, around 4 p.m., at a seashore not far from a town called Aksaypolis. Two friends, Peter and Robert, walk across a modern cemetery on their way to an ancient necropolis. I did not know. There's this cemetery here. It's very close to where we shall be digging. Still, our site is farther up. Crap. Peter looked at the rows of gravestones around them. All was calm and quiet. No sounds other than the steps of both tomb raiders. Look, these graves get all the way up to the mounds. When they were burying their dead here, no one at the time regarded those mounds as ancient artifacts. I guess they did not bury anyone here for quite some time. Oh yeah, this cemetery was closed some 20 years ago. So, no one ever goes here? Only relatives, maybe. Sometimes. Usually it's deserted. It's really weird. You have to, like, double-click to make it, like, not fast-forward. I don't know if that's, like, an option thing, but it's weird. Only relatives? Well, perhaps some homeless people, too. Or young guys with their drinks. But we could not care less about them. Why was the cemetery closed? I heard that people didn't want to bury their dead here anymore, and no one knows why. It's some murky secret. Why? What do you mean? I guess relatives of those buried here started having awful dreams. Plus, all kinds of weird things were happening in their homes. Some families even reburied their dead elsewhere. Superstitions, you know? Is that right? Well, I only heard it through the grapevine. Was it Andrew who told you this crap? Yeah. For a while, both gravediggers were walking in silence. Although none of them was mystically inclined, they grew fearful. Did it all start when they began burying people right next to the mounds? I don't know. At least, I do not want to believe this bull. Right, neither do I. When they reached a small hill, Robert stopped on the trail for a few moments, looking at the road nearby. Let's get off the trail, because the police make their rounds here sometimes. Right, then we'd be right in front of them, backpacks and shovels and all. Ugh, that's kind of creepy. Diggers got on some other path and moved on in silence once again. The cemetery's boundary was at the dense pine forest which grew on top of the ancient necropolis. Old burial sites appeared as low, somber hills that were overgrown with underbrush and covered with a thick layer of pine needles. Otherwise, the tree belt which Robert and Peter entered was rather ordinary. Well, perhaps the pines stood too close to each other here, so that streams of sunlight shining through pine tree crowns were creating a fanciful play of light and dark in the twilight, which is usually associated with deciduary forests. Only history experts knew that one of the world's largest mound burial sites existed here. Well, some locals did too. After a 10-minute walk through the forest, the two tomb raiders find ancient idols, gray, moss-grown stones. Hey. Hey, these stone idols are the Palavtsian Babas. Oh, dang it. Stop. Why? Do such things exist? You never heard about those? How would I? I'm only a biologist. I see. Well, there are many of them in our parts, in the south. I've never seen any. Well, because most of them are in museums now. So why were these here and not taken away to some museums? Perhaps no one has explored this site yet. What do these Babas mean? They are images of dead ancestors. Palavtsians were a nomadic tribe. They dominated the steppes from the Danube to Siberia way before Mongol Khans came here. Europeans called them the Kuman, and they called themselves the Kipchak. 1,000 years ago, they began erecting these idols on the hills and mounds all across the steppe. These were images of their most revered clansmen. The Palavtsi performed rituals and made sacrifices at their bottom. So, did it help? Not really. The Mongols defeated them in the 13th century and conquered all their territory. Only such idols were left behind. These idols here stand, by the way, in strange positions. What's so strange about them? They're too close to each other. One could think that someone brought them to this place from somewhere else. But who? And why? Dunno. Someone. You mean as if some rituals were performed between them? Yep. Was it a very long time ago? Of course. Centuries back. Let's move on, it'll get dark soon. That's the fast forward button, I just have to click anywhere else. Oops. Okay, let's hurry. Half an hour later, Robert and Peter found a neat hollow in the forest, with no wind and good for spending the night there. They set up their camp quickly, pitching the tent and putting away their things. I can't believe it that no one else has ever tried to dig here. Same here, too. Some tried, but it did not work out. Why? Oh, well, due to some superstitions. Superstitions? What happened then? Peter started to get worried. I cannot figure out what it was that they saw or heard. Strange sounds, animals' voices, dark shadows dancing in the fire. At night, there's always lots of that stuff in the forest around a camp. They said that one expedition even had to flee from here, but I couldn't get it confirmed. Peter looked towards the idols and then just waved his hand. Robert also felt scared, as in all of his previous expeditions. Yet not because of the mystical stuff. Graves are just graves. There were only old bones inside them, plus ancient valuables sometimes. Whatever relatives put in the grave with their dead. The older those things were, the more one could get for them at the black market. So the only danger in this illegal enterprise came from the living, not from the dead. Policemen, unreliable dealers, rival diggers. Real trouble would come from them, not from some silly superstitions. Are there only Palavtsian graves here? No, the Scythian and the Sarmatian too. In olden times, people did not like creating new cemeteries, even if the old ones belonged to other tribes with different traditions. This necropolis is probably several thousand years old. Any hopes for finding Scythian gold here? Let's start with hoping for some gold at all. You think there's some here? As Robert grew thoughtful, he looked around for a while. Well, gold would be a regal trophy. That little hill, over there, looks like a king's burial mound. Let's start there tomorrow. What can there be in a king's mound, in your opinion? I wish it would work out. A few days of hard work and we're golden. Yeah, right. We're in deep if they catch us. If we work quietly, they won't. And Andrew is a great guy, very reliable. He'll sell the goods fast and he'll give us a good cut. Gold of the Scythians. Okay, alright, let's go to bed. Lots of work to be done tomorrow. Did you sleep here before? No? Why so? What for? I only passed through here when I explored this site. Okay, good, let's get some sleep. Huh. Interesting. Mysterious cemetery, some grave robbers up to no good. A few hours later, at midnight, Robert and Peter in their tent. Robert wakes up because of Peter's loud and blood-curdling outcry. Okay. That's good voice acting. Pete, wake up. Ah, what was that? You had a dream. What was it about? Peter slowly comes to his senses. He finally realizes where he is. His eyes were getting more clear as he was looking at Robert. I was dreaming as if I was... well, as if I was here all right, yet the place itself was quite different. Swamp? Yes, and the sky. Was it totally black? How do you know? Were you sort of pulled towards the idols? Yeah, but how... I had the same dream. There was also this voice. Yeah. And it was the scariest thing. Because it was impassionate. Lifeless. Right. Also, it was deep and twangy. Suddenly, Peter got very tense. He sat up, straining his ears, trying to hear something in the darkness. Wait. I guess I can hear something behind your tent. It's between the mounds. What exactly? Be quiet. Then Robert could hear some footsteps, too. Someone's walking about. Right. This must have happened with Expedition. You get it now? Do you get it? Stop bawling, you... It is not human. What makes you think so? Well, somehow I have the same idea. Perhaps it's just a dog. Are there dogs in the forest? Of course, quite. Foxes and cats, too. Or lynxes. Oh. That's the first choice of the game, huh? I might as well look outside. I'm not gonna know jack if I don't. Let's take a peek, maybe? Oh, look. Very slowly and carefully, Peter peers out from the tent, trying to make out something in the darkness of the forest. Some 50 steps away from them, among the mounds, tall, fog-like shapes were moving slowly in the dim light of the waning moon. They vaguely resembled human figures. What's there? Some shapes in the distance, and they are not humans. Let's run. Peter, I'm coming after you. Robert and Peter flee from the forest, leaving it behind them. On the run, they throw down their things, and they stop only when they reach the cemetery. Go home without any things, go to Aksaypolis to the rental unit. The rental unit. Oh, I guess we're... So either go all the way home or go back to like the place we're kind of like staying at temporarily. Let's go back there. Where to now? I'm going home. Robert paused to think. He was still very scared, but he knew that if he were to leave Aksaypolis and go home, he would lose not only this digging site, but also his things. On the other hand, he wanted to wait till his fear would disappear, and then, calmed down, he could go and get his things by the full light of day. I'll go to Aksaypolis. When Robert got to Aksaypolis during the day, he went straight to the apartment which he had rented a few days ago. Back at his hometown, after he had started his studies to become a history teacher, he was staying at his grandma's place. She was very fond of her grandson's company, especially after her husband's death. Over time, Robert put off for much later his dreams of buying his own place. It was impossible for him now financially. Over time, he learned how to live simply. He was poor, shy, and tongue-tied. For him, women seemed to be as remote creatures as extraterrestrials. Yeah. After several years as high school teacher, he resigned himself to living as a bachelor. Well, that did not mean, of course, as if he did not wish making more money somehow. This was how he, a teacher of history, became a black digger, a grave robber. At first, as he was learning a new trade, he would go to some excavation sites together with his old friends. Soon, he was able to make some money, a modest sum, yet Robert could buy some rather expensive equipment with it, so he started to work on his own. Having changed his clothes, Robert went to his room. There he closed the drapes and converted his sofa to a bed. He thought that the bed was unusually soft. Only now he realized just how tired he'd gotten the last few days. The day was on its way out, getting closer to the evening. Robert hugged his pillow and fell asleep right away. In his dream, he was at the Aksaypolis necropolis once again. His dream was disturbing and incoherent. Robert kept seeing apparitions move in between the mounds. Ugh. This is so interesting. Robert made an effort to open his eyes. Then he pushed away his blanket and sat up. The clock showed some minutes before 10 in the evening. He thinks, okay, I can make it to the store. I feel like the smart thing is to call a friend. It's about more than just buying food. He wanted to take a walk along the streets, breathing the cool evening air. He wanted to unwind, treat himself to something nice, get rid of the glum thoughts, and, hopefully, of his headache. Especially as the darkness in the corners of his room made his apartment look quite a bit like a crypt. On top of it, Robert felt that he did not want to spend this evening all alone. After all that happened back at the necropolis, their dreadful flight and their leaving things behind, he was eager to talk to someone. Anyone. After a short pause, he picked up his phone and dialed the number of Serge, a friend who lived in Aksaypolis. Serge, hey Bob. Hi, am I calling too late for you? It's alright, no sweat. My fossils are out of town, so I'm sitting here all alone, watching a movie. Ah, great. Listen, let's meet perhaps? We haven't rubbed shoulders for a whole while. Why don't we drink some together, as I am in Aksaypolis. Hey, great. What brings you here? Some business. I rented a room. Ah, wonderful. I'll come. Will you pick me up someplace? Sure. Best of all, do come to the store. I'll go there and get something to celebrate our get-together. At the door, Robert put on his shabby jacket and shouldered his old backpack. Outside, the evening air was fresh and quite cool. It cleared Robert's mind right away as he was walking through Aksaypolis' murky streets. He chose the longest route to the store. He did not really want to go back to the rented apartment. He walked slowly, carefully looking at unfamiliar views. Robert entered the store at about 10:30, and right away made a beeline for the desired item. Oh, what could it be? He thinks. Who am I kidding? I am lonely and I'm sick at heart. I got into some nasty mess, and I must get wasted in order to forget everything. Get really hammered so that I would not see and notice any of this filthy reality around me. Ah, yes. Walking slowly past the shelves with liquor, Robert put a big bottle of brandy into his shopping basket. At the exit, he saw the familiar silhouette. It was Serge, who waved as soon as he noticed him. Hi, Serge. Sergey? Probably Sergey. Hey, Bob, did you get the right stuff? Robert showed what he had in his backpack. It'll be plenty for the two of us. Where are you staying? Not that far from here. We'll walk. Okay, I'll follow the leader. In half an hour, Bob and Sergey arrived at the apartment. Having quickly unpacked liquor and food, they sat down at the table in the room and filled their glasses. Now, Sergey, you're a local, aren't you? Tell me this, did any strange, weird things happen here? How strange? I mean, sort of really weird. Oh, that. Oh man, in droves. And what kind, for example? This is Aksaypolis, to you. Some people disappeared at Promgen. Sometimes only gnawed bodies are found. Or all kinds of hellish stuff in homes. Gobbledygook and all. That's a great word, gobbledygook. What's this Promgen? Promgen? An old factory. It's abandoned now. Did you see its tower? Yeah. It's been standing empty for 50 years now. At first it was built in order to create a large industrial center on the coast. They even laid rail tracks there. But later on something went very wrong. So they abandoned it even though it was getting close to the startup. There's something strange and murky about the whole thing. If you talk to locals, you'll hear all kinds of tall tales. What do you think about it? Nothing. Dairies are just dairies. Abandoned. I had been riding past that place a couple of times. It's only some waste lot in the middle of a swamp, on a big old island. Youngsters go there in order to hang out and have fun. Well, some have disappeared there. The light goes off. Dun dun dun. What's that? Oh, no worry, this happens all the time here. Power lines are rather old in this town, so they switch off electricity pretty often. That was creepy. Sergey suddenly jumps to his feet, dropping things from the table and starting to look around. Yes. Sergey, were you referring to something of this kind? That objects can move all by themselves here at your place? No. And things start burning all on their own? No, not at all. So what was that? Why did you invite me here at all? I have a child to care for. Did you know that? Yes, but I'm off. And don't call me anymore. Deal with this on your own. Sergey dashed out of the room, grabbing his jacket and hurriedly leaving the apartment. So fast that he did not even lace his shoes. Jeez. Robert, perturbed and frightened, leaves his apartment in a jiffy too. He runs into the night, roaming the streets of Aksaypolis. Eventually, he started heading to Andrew's antique store. Andrew intended to pick up whatever treasures he might have excavated. Plus, Robert did not know anyone else in this town. Robert was standing in front of the fire tower where Andrew had his store. As soon as Robert put his hand on its door handle, he felt as if some apparition slid away from him. Now he could, at last, figure out what he was doing. Now it seemed to him that he was trying to barge in order to see someone whom he barely knew, and that in the middle of the night, too. What am I doing? What's wrong with me? Besides, the windows of Andrew's home, which was also his shop, were dark, and Robert could go anywhere else. Easy does it, pal. All I should do is wait until morning when I can speak with Andrew. Or I should leave this blasted town. A small public garden was only some 50 steps away, so we spent the rest of the night on the bench there. Jeez. Dun 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 dun. Chapter 2. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I'm still pretty new to this whole thing, so if you have any suggestions or comments on how I could improve the presentation of my videos, that'd be much appreciated. Also, what do you think of Atrocity? I like it so far. It's a very spooky kind of mystery. I can't wait to learn more.